And what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Nights at the Round Table. It's Manny Fresh.
Okay. What's that happening now?
Self-proclaimed.
Yeah.
Man Weezy.
Angelize.
Angelize.
Elisa Yeezy.
Bobby Ceezy.
Nope.
Brandizzle.
Beast Easy.
Beastie.
All right, there we go. Here we go. Different
Hey,
nickname.
I'm excited about this episode. Probably because, one, we're finally crapping up a bottle of...
Sorry, what?
We're finally cracking open a bottle
Speak
of
for yourself.
Moscato, which is the only wine I truly drink. Menage a Trois, that's what it's really called?
Yes.
Yeah.
They got a whole range.
It's a very popular one.
Yeah.
Is it really?
You
Yeah.
can get it at any grocery store.
I like their
All
red.
right. Menage a Trois, y'all. Moscato from California, 2015.
It's a good brand.
Look,
Take a sip.
Moscato is what it's all about for my life. It's just basically grape juice.
Grape juice.
See, I can get down with this.
This is communion right here.
This is
Yeah.
good. If
the
y'all
name of
want to
the
get
Father.
It's
down,
really
I
sweet.
love some
Son.
Kool-Aid.
Moscato called Menage a Trois. I really like it. Hey, that's the first thing I like. The second thing would be our conversation today is going to be about gratitude. And I was at church Sunday at one church, and Pastor Torre was talking about gratitude, and it hit me so hard because I know it's in this world, it's very easy to become cynical or to become angry or to become upset about things not going your way, and it's easy to see what you don't have. But there's something about gratitude that I feel unlocks so many things in your life, from joy to potential to the type of people that are going to hang around you. It's just something that I feel is so important. You know what I'm saying, babe?
Yeah, I hear you. I feel like my comprehension of gratitude and all of its power has evolved, especially in the past couple years. I was reading this book called You Are a Badass by
that
Jen
book.
Sincero.
Yes.
Love the book. And one thing that she has a whole chapter on gratitude, and it changed my life. And I've implemented some things that I've learned from her book into my life and into my road life. So with my team, my crew that I travel with, I have a road manager assistant, I have opener comic, and I have my social media guy that travel with us. And we have a little family. It's our family that we travel with. And if one person in my crew is in a funky mood, or they have anxiety, or they're stressed or something, we all feel it.
Yeah.
We all feel the vibrations. We all feel everything, and we stop it right there when we feel it. So if it's me, I'll be like, I'm feeling funky. Let's do gratitudes. Let's say what we're grateful for. Let's do
I
our
love
gratefuls.
that.
All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna do our gratefuls.
Yeah.
And or if somebody in my team is funky, I'd be like, Jackie, you good? Let's do gratefuls.
I feel like
Because
Jackie's always
we need
good,
she is always good. But then
Yeah.
that's why you can tell when she's
Right,
off,
when she's not.
because she's always good. So you can tell like something's going on
Yeah.
with her. Let's all, and it's like we all do it. We get on the same page. It's like us helping each other. Like imagine
Yeah.
being on top of a mountain and you grab down, you lift your friend up to the top where you are. So it's raising our frequency is what she talks about. Let's
Right.
raise our frequency. Let's operate from a higher frequency. So what we'll do is we'll go around the room and we'll say 5 things that we're grateful for. And I've started doing it in the comedy clubs now with a whole staff before we start a weekend, because we're doing so many shows. And I know sometimes I come in with anxiety. I can only imagine like these waiters and waitresses that typically maybe their club is half full. I mean, I ain't trying to boast. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to say everybody.
She
don't
sold
sell
out everywhere. We'll say it.
but I do sell out quite a bit. And so when I come in, it's very busy, more than what they're used to sometimes. So we'll do like just an opening meeting. I'll go around the staff, everybody say your name and say something that you're grateful for. And I explain to them, I'm like, yo, if you had anxiety when you came in, if you're feeling heavy about something, if you just got in a fight with your loved one, if whatever you're going through, we're going to decide right now to have an amazing weekend and get rid of all of those feelings. So let's just talk about something that we're grateful for. And so that's what we do with the whole staff. Or if it's just me and my team, we do 5 things each. When it's the staff, we just do 1 thing because there's like 30 people.
Right.
And it sets the tone it shifts the energy. And another just very quick story of a testament of how powerful it is I remember when we first started doing this and implementing gratefuls into our life, I was driving out to a comedy club and I was about to begin my first show of 16 shows. Gosh. And it was a lot. Yeah. And I started to get anxiety driving out there. And I remember I text Manny, my husband, and I said, I have anxiety. Can you pray for me? And immediately he responds back, tell me 10 things you're grateful for. And as soon as he said that in the text, as soon as I read those words, my energy shifted already shifted, because I knew I had the power to overcome this anxiety. I knew I had the power to raise my frequency. Gosh, I knew the power was held within me and that I could change it and I could shift it. So just him reminding me of that was like, oh yeah. Okay, and I just start typing back to him things that I'm grateful for. So I'm already changing my outlook, my perspective, and my vibe. Literally like, oh, it's a vibe. No, it really is. Yeah. It's a vibration that we're operating on, and you shift it and you decide.
So with that said, do any of you, is there a situation that has happened in your life where it was absolute shite? Like it was just crap. And you exercise gratitude and it shifted your whole perspective and your whole life. Like, can you remember a time?
Well, I mean, that story I just shared was
sure.
a very powerful one for me. Even as simple as it is,
it
was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I'm talking, do you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that idea. First of all, I'd forgotten about that chapter. And I remember when I read that chapter in her book, there was like a couple of months there, and like you forget things really easily, but that is such a good reminder, because I want to go back to that. Even with being a pastor and like having like talking to people and that kind of thing, so often I can feel like I'm at a loss of what to say, but that is so good. Like when someone's dealing with anxiety, change your perspective. Like that vibration that you were talking about, or that it's a decision, like, because you could have stayed there, but in that decision to change your perspective, the decision just to change your perspective to see what you were grateful for changed your entire outlook and your vibration and vibe and what you were putting out there and what other people experience when they experienced you, because it's not just about how you're feeling. What you were saying, it's contagious. Other people feel that. And that's one of the things I love about our friendship, is that you have always done that and have always been that person in my life, if I'm going through something, to shift that in the moment and not just call something out like, oh, you have anxiety, oh, I'll pray for you, but like, hey, what are you grateful for? Or like, hey, this is just like a bad day, like tomorrow's going to be better. You can just decide that things are different. And I love that, because when people do that, it forces you to make a decision. Are you going to make the decision consciously to sit in this, or are you going to choose to change your perspective? And I think I'm grateful for that with you. But I remember,
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm not grateful for this an accent, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm so grateful. I remember the most recent large one that comes to mind. I remember being in Australia, going through a divorce, and sitting there having no idea if I'd ever return to what now felt like home, because nowhere felt like home. My marriage was over. I lost everything and went back to Australia. And I don't know if there is more of a failed feeling in life than what I felt then. And I remember being at the beach in Australia, and it was summer, and I just finished a therapy session, and I went down there and I just had a conversation with my like pastor boss / big brother, Julian, and we weren't sure what I was going to do. Weren't sure if I was going to come back. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I just wanted to get back to life, back to what I thought was normal. And he was like, you need some more time out there. Like, you're not done. Like, you need to do the work and heal. And I'll know when you're ready. And it was so frustrating, because it felt like it was out of my hands. And honestly, looking back, it needed to be, because I would have put it back in my hands within 24 hours and just moved on rather than worked through. And so I was sitting at the beach, and I was so annoyed, because I thought I was ready to go back, meaning I didn't want to deal with my stuff. And I was sitting on the beach, and that thought, without realizing it was that thought, kind of came back. And I felt like it was God speaking to me saying, Elise, are you going to sit in this, or are we going to do this? And I was like, I've been trying to do this. Like I want to get back there. I'm trying. No one will listen to me. Everybody hates me. No one's listening to me. Everything's the worst. And in that moment, I felt this like not a slap in the face, because that feels very aggressive, but like just like this abrupt moment of like, well, then what are you grateful for? And it felt like an irony, because I was like, what do you mean, what am I grateful for? Like, this is not what we should be talking about. But I do believe that contentment starts with gratitude, and being able to move forward starts with that. And so I started crying, and I didn't know why I was crying. So then I was just getting more and more frustrated, and just looking around, and it just kept coming back to me. What are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? Nothing. That I'm not in my marriage, like, duh, nothing. Like, and I was just being sarcastic and dumb. And it took me probably 15 minutes of just like crying and just like giving like the side eye to anyone walking past looking at me, because they were disturbing my moment, until I was like, fine, like, it's summer. LA's in winter, suckers, even though it's like 60 degrees and everyone's wearing beanies and like jackets and like whatever. Fine. The fact that I'm in Australia and it's summer. And then it kind of, okay, the fact that I get to spend this time with my nephews and my niece, who I never have seen before. And I remember then it started to go through my family. And then I remember I laughed because I remembered a joke my brother had told me the night before. And I was like, oh, I haven't had moments with him like that in ages. And then it was like, oh, I see what's happening here. And I just one by one felt this grip come off my heart. It's like I was gripping my own heart and suffocating myself.
Wow.
And gratitude in that moment helped me just take the reins off it and let it breathe. And this calm washed over me. And then I realized in this one moment, I have a lot of work to do, but it wasn't what I had experienced, that feeling of like, oh crap, like I have a lot of work to do, I suck. It was, oh, I see what they're saying now. Okay, I can do this. So it was like gratitude brought me a moment of clarity and a moment of strength in this moment of releasing the control. I don't know if that makes sense.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
So
good.
that's the one I can think of.
It's a good one.
Good.
That's really good. I'd say for me, actually, this happened last night. Like, I'm a huge dreamer, like not just like in real life, but at nighttime. Like, I always have dreams.
Yeah. I'll always call Brandon after I have a dream. Like, what does it mean?
And so last night I have this terrible dream. And in this dream, I'm like essentially getting
Aubrey,
like,
get out.
Drake.
Drake was in there.
More
and he was
lyrics.
singing all of his hits. And I was like, Drake, I'm trying to stay asleep. I'm getting too excited right now, man. And I have this terrible dream. And it's like one of those dreams where I call it like it's kind of sticky. Like in the sense that like when you wake up from the dream, you still feel all the feelings and the emotions in the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the dream, I'm like literally paralyzed by fear. Like there's like this like evil spirit in this dream. And I never have dreams like that. Most of my dreams are good or like futuristic, you know, whatever. And so I wake up and I'm literally just in bed and I'm just gripped by fear.
Jeez.
And like whatever was in this dream, I'm feeling in me.
Oh, shoot.
And it was like in that moment where all of a sudden the room just became that much darker.
Ooh.
And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen right now?
Yeah.
Like, is something going to like materialize? And like, I'm like, and so I remember I'm just laying there and I'm like, oh my God, my heart's beating fast. Like I can feel it. Like I'm sweaty.
Jeez.
And I'm like, this is trippy. And I'm like trying to pray, but I don't really know what to pray.
Yeah.
And I just kind of roll over a little bit and I put my hand on Maddie. And it was just this moment where all of a sudden I was just not thinking about how scared I was or how dark the room was, but I was just reminded I have somebody. And like all of a sudden I was like, man, I miss Maddie. Like Maddie's sleeping right now. I wish I could wake her up and just tell her like how much I just like love you.
Man,
Like,
every girl listening just swooned.
Yeah, like I'm so obsessed with my wife, which is incredible and I love it. But it was like she brought me out of my fear in that
Jeez,
moment.
dude.
She wasn't even awake. Like it was just her presence and just knowing that like, man, I'm not alone.
Wow.
And again, there's other moments where I think like my biggest thing that I'm always grateful for is like I got a lot of love in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously I get to share that love at the deepest level with my partner, my wife. But I told her this morning, I was like, babe, I almost woke you up, but you were good just being there next to me. And knowing that she was sleeping peacefully, it made me feel like, what do I have to be scared of? She's not scared. And so I love that about my wife. My wife is like fearless, and I'm so grateful for that, because I'm the one that usually panics.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? You know? And she's just cool, like just collected, like, oh, we got this, babe. And I'm so grateful for that, because God knows I needed that, and I need that.
Yeah.
And so she got me out of my fear. It took me about 20 minutes to get back to that place before I could my heart rate would go down, and then I could go back to sleep. And so that literally happened last night.
That's crazy. Cause I funny. Cause I called you, babe, a couple nights ago, and I was telling her, I was like, man, I'm super grateful. I think I laughed at her. I was like, we're doing good. Like me and you, like, I'm super grateful, because my wife is the same way. Like, she's super, like, she has faith everywhere I lack faith. And she always, like, she just doesn't really worry about anything. And it trips me out. But it's one of the things that inspires me
Other
so
than my
much.
career, but continue.
Yeah, but the way, even the way you approach your career is, you know, I know you haven't had your big break, but like the bravery, the strength of, I've never seen you like get affected, except every once in a while, but you chased it and you tackle things, and it's so impressive. Like, it's so impressive to watch you. Like, sometimes I laugh because I feel like I'm a fan who happens to be married to the person that I'm a fan of. And I always tell people that, I'm like, it's so easy to be a fan of my wife, which is why I can't handle her auditions. I used to be all into it, but now I can't handle it. Because I'll get so upset. I'll get so whatever. Because I keep saying, you know, one day they're going to see how freaking amazing. I always say this, they're going to love her like I love her. Like, one day they'll see why I fell in love with her. And it is a gratitude thing, like, to be with someone that is genuinely you're a fan of. A genuine fan. I am, babe. I'm a total fan of you.
Thanks, babe.
I'm a fan of everything about you.
Okay. Do you need us to leave, or are you guys?
I wanted to touch on just for a second, because it triggered me when you said it, so I'm just going to say it out
I
loud.
already know what you're gonna say.
About the big break?
Yeah.
The big break, when you say, because you haven't got your big break yet, I want to clarify, of this season, I would say. Big break of this season. Because I don't want people listening to be like, what?
Exactly.
Like, you're uber successful. What do you mean big break? You have a new dream. You achieve a goal. You have a dream, you go for
Very
it,
good.
and then you get it, and then you have a new dream and a new goal. So you never are just content and coasting like, okay, I won, now I just sit here. No, you're still breathing, so you still have purpose, you still have something to go for. So I have new dreams and new goals that I've been pursuing, and some old goals that I've been pursuing for 16 years that I still have not yet gotten to that place yet. And that's what he's speaking on when he says, I know you haven't had your big break yet. It's the break that I've been pursuing for 16 years that just keeps, like, it's like in my hand. And then it's like that game in the arcade where it's like the claw and it goes to pick up the stuffed animal. You're like, oh, I got this.
Or
and then it goes to pick it up and it just drops. It's like it right through its fingers. Like, that's how I feel about that dream.
Act as a husband to be able to, like, because I tried it the other day. I was like, babe, but be grateful for. And you're like, not right now.
Yeah.
This ain't the time.
Right.
And I get it, because sometimes you do. Like, sometimes we do need to be like, you know, F the world. You know, kind of like, we have to have that moment of just like, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'll get over it. I am grateful. But right now, I just want to be pissed and frustrated. I want to throw some things. I want to, like, cuss some people out. And be okay with that moment and be like, well, let's do that. Who you want to beat up?
It's not in denial of where you're at. It's okay to own your truth and what you're really feeling. And for me, like I was telling you guys earlier today too, like I was feeling very depleted. And so it's not just like, oh, I'm discouraged. Well, what am I grateful for? So let me get out of this. Or I have anxiety. What am I grateful for? So let me get out of this. It was like a genuine, like, I've poured all of myself out and I'm empty now. So I have to replenish. So it's like, my gratefuls ain't going to cut it right now. It's like, I need some rest, sleep, some no meetings, no auditions, no shows. Like, I need a massage, but I'm going to need homegirl to come to my house and do it because I can't even drive myself to the massage place right now. Yeah. It was like one of those. So it's okay to own where you're at. That's great. If you're in that place, and know that you do have the power within you to move forward, but also you can't give of yourself if you have nothing to give.
Well, here's the dangerous part about when she says it's okay to have that, it is, there are times to be upset. There are times to feel frustrated. Because this is life. That's just reality.
Mm-hmm.
The danger is sometimes it feels good being frustrated and blaming other people for that. Sometimes it feels, that's like the balancing act that I'm talking about, because it's easy to throw a pity party for yourself, and people join in and be like,
right.
yeah, it is. And then it becomes something where you're blaming everyone and everything else for the reason why you don't have what you have. It's so easy. So there's yes, be frustrated, cry, do what you got to do, but make sure you have somebody around you or even yourself that you just snap right back out of it, because it's too easy to go down the road of being ungrateful. I mean, because for most of us, if we look at it, there's something in our lives that we can point out and say, oh, I wish this could be different. I wish I could be further along. I wish I could have that thing, have that person, have that whatever.
I wish I didn't have this many chins. It's
and
fine.
that many chins, my little belly that I'm trying to get rid of.
Gosh.
It's so easy, you know. For me, I was grateful and I never thought this would happen. I thought I was gonna be a road dog my whole life. I was so in love with being on the road and touring and all this stuff. It was fun being on stage in front of people. It was just so dope. Then I get vocal nodes and I cannot sing anymore. I can't even talk anymore. I have to go on vocal break for 6 months. Like, I'm not allowed to talk. And in that whole time, I had this horrible like dialogue with God of like, hey man, like I may not be able to sing after this. Like, life as you know it is completely gonna be different. And the fact that I had to wait 6 months to find out was killing me. And at first I was so angry because I was like, man, why did you take everything away? Like, I tried so hard to be good to people, to give. I'm like super good to my fans. I'm super good to everyone who works with me. I'm like a good dude. Why would you take my voice away? Then in the same time, my record deal goes away. I literally in the course of a year have nothing. And I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to talk. And these are the things that are going through my mind. And then God started like talking to me and letting me know what my true priorities were. And I had this weird conception. I thought that if I was selling records, if I was doing things for him, that I was blessed. Like, I'm making money. I'm on stages. I'm touring. I'm doing all these things. I'm living a blessed life. Hashtag all day long. And then when it all went away, I literally thought, oh, I'm not blessed anymore. He must be mad at me. Like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
I did something wrong. I started doing inventory on my sin. Like, what did I do? I did something wrong. This is why I got to fix it. And none of that stuff cut it. At the end of it, I just realized I became grateful that I was a son of God. And I became grateful that there was no other thing that I could be that would top that. Like, when I broke down my life, like what was I really like worried about? The music ended up coming with pressure and things that I didn't want to deal with. The road kept me away from my wife, like for longer than I liked. And in those 6 months, I was with her, like we went so many places. We chilled, like we just spent so much time together. And we never in our, we were married for like 5-6 years at that point. We've never had that much time together.
Wow.
And so when we started, I was like, oh man, I think I like my wife, you know? I like hanging out with my wife. Because people always say, oh, y'all ain't had no crazy.
And meanwhile, I'm like, when do you go back on tour?
When can you talk again?
Y'all ain't had no crazy, fights because, you know, you always get to leave and y'all don't have enough time together. So that's why you ain't fighting. But then I got to spend time with her and I was like, man, I really love my wife. And mind you, I'm not saying this because I can't talk, but I found out that I loved my wife. I loved my home. I loved being with my friends. I loved traveling with her. I love all these things. And I made a decision in my mind. I was like, you know what? If I talk again, if I sing again, it doesn't matter. Because what I really love, who I really care about is my wife, is my friends, is my family. And none of that has to do with whether I sing or not again. So that became the biggest thing that I was super, super grateful for losing my voice
Wow.
and almost losing my entire career. You know what I'm saying?
That's always the crazy thing about being grateful is there's some things that you're like in the moment that you can grasp. Like right now, I am thankful that I'm healthy, you know? But there's like big things sometimes like you don't know until after you've gone through that thing that you're like, oh, I'm grateful that I actually lost my voice. Because at the moment it was something that was like honestly traumatic, you know, and like something that's crazy.
Yeah.
But then it isn't until after that you actually get the eyes to see that was something I could actually be grateful for,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's just when it's, man, I know it sounds so like, I don't know, churchy or whatever to be like, it's the low times that really show you what you care about. But it's just so true. Like, it's really easy to be grateful when everything's great. But I just found like the transformational gratefulness happens when just things aren't going right, you know?
I was reading something just this last week. I was just thinking about it actually, sorry. And I was thinking about the difference in life between the pain that happens to us that God allows. I guess God allows everything. It's a mysterious thing about like why some things happen, and I don't care to question it or even understand it yet. But the things that happen that are evil, downright evil pain, right? And then the things that we go through that aren't necessarily evil, don't include sin, but still cause us pain. And what I mean by that, and cause us to have to activate gratitude when it doesn't feel correct or like it sits in the situation. Like, I think that, for example, growing up, I had like psoriasis on my skin, right? Just like dry skin, and it caused me to like never quite feel like I fit in, or just never felt like I was super comfortable with myself. Through that, with perspective and practicing gratitude, it's like, well, why would you be grateful for that? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But in practicing gratitude in situations like that, I realized I related to people I never would have related to before, and I didn't judge people, especially that had outward things on them or happening to them, or you know, other things much worse than mine or the same as mine. I didn't judge, and I was much more accepting. And I think that sometimes it's interesting when I think about this subject of like whether something happened to you, went through something, whether it's like sleeping through an alarm, therefore being late to church when you're meant to MC. Not saying that was a personal experience this weekend or anything like that, but things like that you go through that I wonder if God is like, hey, I just need to trigger you back to being grateful, or like having something. And again, I'm not talking about evil or like abuse or anything like that. No. But I wonder if there are things that we go through that it's God saying, hey, I just need to bring some perspective back here to have you have the decision just to check where you're at. I think God does that.
And what's the other option? Like complain? Like, what does that do?
Like yes.
Yeah, but when I think about it, there's nobody in this world that can tell me, man, I just had a really good complaining fit. Like, it was awesome.
I feel so much better.
You know, like I complained for like an hour today, and man, everybody just loved it. All my friends were like, man, you're making a lot of good points.
You're such a good person to hang around.
You know
I feel so much better. Thank you.
It's so whack. Like, that's not even a good option. Like, you'll see how many people don't want to be around you. You know, it is completely a perspective thing. When I got sick in this past Thanksgiving.
Oh, you were really sick.
I got freaking food poisoning. Then I got bronchitis. Then I got whooping cough, and I'm still dealing with the coughs. That was from Thanksgiving. I'm still dealing with my throat just cutting out of nowhere, and I'm like, what the hell? How long is this gonna last? Yeah. Then I got people on Instagram that hit me up and were like, oh, I dealt with it for 8 months. Because another person was like, I dealt with it with 6 months. And then this was in the middle of my giving when I did the gives in the Christmas, and I flew out to Dallas. And who was I flying out to? Oh, the family that just lost their dad. Yeah. Oh, the family that literally just lost their other dad, the other family that lost a dad to cancer 2 days before I was supposed to go out there and give them their gifts. And I'm thinking, man,
I'm over here.
I'll take a cough. I will take a cough. As horrible as it is, like I'll take a cough because, and I keep telling my babe, I'm like, man, like, health and family and friends, like I just feel like that's what it all comes down to. Like when it's all said and done. Like, I'm grateful for I'm grateful for our house. I'm grateful for the fun we get to have. But I could do without everything except for my family, my love, and health, you know? So if you got those, you got everything.
Yeah.
Legit. Like, I've heard it said, like, if you have 2 good friends, you're literally one of the most blessed people ever.
You're rich.
Yeah, you're rich, right? Is that the saying? If you
Something
have
like that.
something like that.
You heard it here first. If not.
I have, speaking of gratitude, so you know how typically at the end of every year, it's been in most recent years with social media, but everybody's like, good riddance 2017. Like, worst, you know what I mean? Like,
Can't wait for the new year. Gosh.
yeah, and it's like we always crap on the year that we just had.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thing to do. So I saw this thing on Facebook and I started doing it. You see that jar that's over there?
Gratitude jar.
It's anytime anything good happens in your life that you're grateful for, I'll write it down. And I'll do like big things. Like obviously like the dailies, I don't put in there. Like, oh, my health. I get that. But I'll put in
365. I drink coffee.
Exactly. Exactly. Lattes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the bigger monumental things of the year.
Yeah.
So that at the end of the year, you can go back to your jar and everything that you wrote down, and you are reminded to change your perspective and think about all the things that you are grateful for. So it's actually pretty powerful. And if you guys want to do that yourselves, I just got my jar at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or one of those art stores, and
Anywhere.
yeah, it just looks. Target probably has
Home Goods.
Amazon,
Big Lots.
yeah, there you
Probs,
go.
Walmart.
All of them, and you 3x5 cards, and just
Yeah.
write some things that you're grateful for, and then fold it up, put it in your jar.
You know, it's funny that we're talking about this. Like, I just talked to Joe Coy, one of our good friends who's a comedian, and there's a song that I wrote called Options that was literally based on gratitude. And he's thinking about using it for his special.
Yes.
And the whole song was me realizing that, man, just to have the ability to have a choice is beyond blessed. Like, I am so grateful, because there was a time when I was growing up that there wasn't no, hey, Manny, what kind of shoes do you want? It was, you're just going to get the shoes we afford.
Right.
When it came to my first car, it wasn't like, man, I wonder what car I'm going to get. It was, you're going to get this car your dad gave you with bullet holes in it and no AC.
Yes.
And it's going to be just this crappy Monte Carlo. There was literally no way for me. Yeah, I really wanted a Civic. But there was no way for me to make a choice. And now I look at my life and I'm like, I remember the time when I was able to have that first choice, when I went to my first restaurant, and it was like, oh my God, I can actually choose whatever I want on this thing. And it wasn't a fancy restaurant. It was like, Fridays or something. But I had a choice. And I remember going to the mall and being like, oh my God, I can buy a pair of shoes that I want. It's not, oh, I got to be able to afford this or be able to afford it. I have choices.
Yeah.
And I think we lose sight of that so easily, that we notice what we don't have. But the fact that you have the opportunity, the blessing to actually make a choice on whether you want this or that, means that you are literally richer than 98% of the world. Because most of the world, they don't have choices. They don't have options. So as much as you may feel like you have a crappy car, or you may have a crappy job or a crappy life, man, if you can just focus on the fact that you have options, like you have the ability to change your situation, that is a beyond blessing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was reading a book when I was in Australia for those few months. And I am a reader. I always say I'm a reader, but I'm usually reading one book for 6 months because I never finish it. But this
I hate reading.
I know, right? But I love the idea of it. And I love what I learn when I read. I just the idea of reading on Netflix.
Reading
don't comment about that,
Instagram.
please, people. But I swear I'm not shallow. But during this season in Australia, for those few months, I was like, okay, if we're healing, we're healing. And I read 17 books.
17 books?
Yeah, I have a list. We'll put the list up if you'd like it. Comment below.
Elise's book club.
Elise's book club coming.
It's all the Hardy Boys books. Remember that?
Hardy
Dude,
Boys?
Hardy Boys.
Babysitter's Club.
Yes.
Aw.
Or the Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Yes. Oh, loved
man.
them. Dr. Seuss. Like I just like was
Man,
killing me some Dr. Seuss
Praise
books.
the Lord.
Yeah. So Dr. Seuss said no. Although philosopher. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Good at words. Good at words. Anyway, about reading.
17 books.
Okay. So probably my favorite book from this whole time was it's called Option B by Sheryl Sandberg. And she is, or what, I don't know if she still is, but she was the COO of Facebook. It was a full-on boss, was speaking at everything, like empowering women, like such a high capacity leader, incredible. She was married, has kids, and her husband died all of a sudden when they were on a trip with some friends to, I think it was Mexico or Hawaii or something. Literally, he was in the gym on the treadmill and they found him. And just, it doesn't get more traumatic than that.
Worst nightmare.
So, what we've already been talking about is me, someone that's going through divorce, like publicly to my circle, really felt like I was starting again. To read someone similar, mine wasn't as traumatic, but pain recognizes pain type thing. To read her story and then to see what she did. And one of her chapters was all about it could be worse.
Wow.
And the kind of double entendre of like how annoying it is when someone's like, well, it could be worse, or sometimes in church or just in life. But I've grown up in church, so you can get those one-liners like you just got to have faith, or like
Let go and let God.
let go and let God, you know, or like the best is yet to come, like saying them flippantly, although when they're authentic and are noted, like good, but to someone that's in real pain, to hear a generalized comment like, and that's what I want to be careful. We're not just saying like, well, just choose gratitude. Like,
Right.
these are from real things, because this is something that really works. And I believe these other, what would be called cliches, have worked at one time, but when we've taken them out of where they worked with authenticity and authority and placed them as just a one-liner,
Come on.
you know, they can lose authority. So she was talking about this, and then she said, and yet I realized one day it could be worse. And I was like, hold up. And she starts talking about all the ways it could have been worse. And she had a really close friend who I think he helped her write this book, who literally had a conversation with her of all the ways it could be worse. And I sat there afterwards and I was like, let me give this a shot. And kind of on the other end of what am I grateful for?
Yeah.
How could this be worse? I could have been married for longer. We could have had kids. I could have been losing myself more and more all this time, or the situation could have been way worse. I could have been like, there were so many ways as I began to think that things could be worse. I could not have a family or a support system that was better than anyone I've ever known during this season. I was completely supported by my LA community, by my church, and by my family, and by my friends. And I was so loved in the middle of, yes, heartbreak. So the facts stayed the same, but it was like this shift again in thinking of it could be worse. And when it's not used as a cliche, it's actually a really powerful sentence in the middle of things, because it shifts us from this is the worst to this is bad, but it could be worse. And when we think about that, I don't know, for me, it shifted the perspective back to gratitude,
Yeah.
you know?
That's good. That's so powerful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's my
good
reading.
Preach
that
on,
you-
preach.
It's good that you touched on the fact, like, we definitely, I know that there's somebody listening to this thinking, you don't know my situation.
Exactly.
You don't know what I've gone through.
Yeah.
If you only knew, you know, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying.
Totally.
And we may not know your situation. We're bravely telling you ours, like our low points. And the only thing we know is what worked for us. And we're hoping that if you give it a chance, that you'd also see that it could work for you. So we want to have grace for your situation. We want to have patience for your situation. We'd love to hear your situation. But at the same time, we do believe that this thing that we're talking about, gratitude, is not necessarily a theory. It's like a law. Like when you follow it, things happen. And we hope that if you're out there and you're listening to this, that you do find yourself in a place that you take a moment, like my queen says, and just say 5 things you're grateful for. Like even right now, as we're talking, like just stop the pod and just say 5 things. Even if it's small, even if you feel stupid, just say 5 things. And celebrate them, no matter how small. Because like Bobby said, and we hate to hear it, but it could be worse. Thanks so much for being with us and having a good time. We are grateful that you are listening, and we truly hope that you guys are being blessed by what you hear. And I love you guys. I'm grateful that you guys are taking this journey with me and my wife.
Wait,
Should we go around?
I was
and do
just
our
gonna say, I feel
gratefuls?
like we should.
You want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, shout them out. Gratefuls.
I mean, we got to practice what we preach.
Go.
Yes.
Ready?
Ange, go. Lightning round.
Oh, shoot. Lightning round?
No, I don't know what that means. Just
Uh,
whatever your
okay.
round is.
I am grateful that today and yesterday I didn't have auditions or meetings, but I get to just have some me time.
Good job.
I am grateful for this last weekend, 5 years of living in LA, and the lessons I have learned and the people I've found.
I'm grateful for friends who become family. That's you
Oh my
guys
God,
to
that's
me. Yeah, seriously. Like
family.
I'm so grateful for
Yeah.
you guys.
That's
I choose
amazing.
that
Yeah.
one too.
Yeah.
That
I'll
one
claim
too.
it.
Thanks, Brandon.
And I am grateful that we have the ability to wake up and speak what's on our hearts. I'm super grateful for that. And we hope that you guys are blessed by it. Truly, truly, truly. So we love you guys. We thank you. And we pray that you have a seat at a table. But if you don't, you are totally welcome at ours.
Totally.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We love you. Moscato, the real wine. The wine.
The real wine.
The wine for men. I'm out of here.